I was just thinking about what I wanted to record, and the thing that kind of stuck in my mind is how we live in a world that worships villains. Now, that doesn't mean exclusively. I'm just saying, like, when you really break it down, one, the vast majority of people that we would consider heroes, like to some people who we would consider heroes, other people would consider villains. And just looking at history, and I can't speak on world history that much, but like American history, what I know of it, it's a lot of people that have been uh, promoted to this status of legend or hero or whatever. And if you really look at some of the behavior that people don't want to talk about a lot, it wasn't great people. But at the time, some of the things that the people did were acceptable at the time. Now, just because something is acceptable when it comes to society still doesn't mean that individual has to conform to it. So these ultimately were, those people's choices. And, I look at just in my lifetime, some of the major names that were tied up in scandal. I mean, you could go from presidents like shit, Clinton, uh, obviously Trump in office right now, and people can say whatever they want to say about him. It's people that again worship him, think he the greatest thing since sliced bread, but some people that think he a villain. Even Obama, like Obama was bombing the fuck out of out of the Middle East. But anyway, people almost worship him, and I'm not gonna say rightfully so, but it's a huge accomplishment to become the first, you know, African American president of the United States, and hopefully we'll have another. But I won't hold my breath. I don't. If it doesn't happen in my lifetime, I won't be shocked. Now, I hope that it does. I hope we progress as a society to get to that point where, those type of things, you don't have to be, because I mean, let's be real, Obama is one of one at this point. So that's extraordinary. But it's a whole lot of other presidents that can't necessarily say were extraordinary men. Now, there were some, but anyway, it's not to get political. It's just a point that throughout history, whether it's Columbus, hell, whether it's Martin Luther King Jr., like when you find out some of the things that these individuals did outside of what they're known for and what's supposed to be their greatest accomplishments, because obviously Columbus didn't even really discover America, but still, we got Columbus Day. This man is celebrated, but when you look at what he did and what he what do you call it, commanded people to do, he a villain. So, shit. R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, different people. Shit. My favorite athlete of all time is Kobe Bryant. Now, I personally don't believe that he did what he was accused of, but he was accused of sexual assault. So, some people will say, some people think he's guilty, so he would be a villain to them, and so on and so forth. But it just said all of that to say this. Man, nobody perfect. But when you accomplish great things, it's easy for some people to use that to justify overlooking the negative things you did. And that's, whether it's right or not, that's just the reality in the society that we live in. So taking that into consideration, like I made videos in the past about feeling guilty about certain things, having regrets, being challenged to not feel guilty about taking care of myself and prioritizing myself, because of the way I've been conditioned to where if I'm focusing on me and my health and I'm not working and making money, then I feel like I'm not being productive, so on and so forth. But if all of the mistakes that I made in the past, all of the bad decisions, um, regrets. If I accomplish great things in my life, then how will I be remembered? Will it be by the great things? If I create generational wealth in my family. So I used to work for Hilton. So if you work for Hilton, then you know who Conrad Hilton is, right? I used to work for Sam's Club. If you work for Sam's Club, you know who Sam Walton was, so on and so forth. So my point is simply this, that outside of starting Hilton and starting Walmart and Sam's, like, what else are they known for? They could have been terrible people. I'm not saying that they were, it's just a point. Regardless, if they were or not, that's not what they're going to be remembered for. This generation, we probably think whatever we think about R. Kelly, but once you go so far in the future, his music still exists, but the opinions of the people that existed in this time and were aware of what he did, that no longer exists. So just the greatness remains. I made videos about my opinion about Jesus, and still, to me, like, when I look at the Bible, I'm looking at Jesus as the example of how I want to behave, how I want to go through life, because it's the best story of a life ever lived. So anyway, I don't want to be a villain, but like, I've done some things that hurt people. Some people got problems with me. I personally don't have a problem with anybody at this point. I've forgiven anybody for anything that they ever did to me. And if we haven't had that discussion and you see this, again, if we had any issues in the past, if you ever did anything wrong to me, I forgave you. I'm not tripping off it, but I'm also not going to subject myself to certain things that I don't want to be a part of my life. So I don't have to be mad at somebody not to deal with them. I'm going to make my decisions based off the information that I have available. And if the information that somebody give me is that they're not trustworthy, they're not loyal, they're not genuine, they're not reliable, all these things, then that's how I'm gonna factor that into my decision-making process when dealing with that person. But I don't have to have any animosity toward that person. So anyway, recently I've had different conversations with different people, and everybody creates a villain in a situation when you ask them about whatever happened in their past. And the vast majority of the time I'm listening to these people, and I just don't believe it anymore. Because yeah, we all do things wrong, but like, everybody isn't just getting taken advantage of and manipulated and psychologically abused and all these things, like when you hear people talk. So I guess my point is simply, man, we are responsible for ourselves. We can all do good, we can all do bad. The vast majority of people are likely to do more good than bad. That's what I believe. But at the same time, I feel like also the vast majority of people can't even be honest with themselves. So just stop worrying about what other people think. Like, make sure that anything you do, you can really justify what you're doing in your life and that it makes sense, and you can explain it if you need to for it to make sense to yourself. Because all you got to do is be able to justify and say it out loud. And you say something out loud and listen to it, see if it really makes sense, But yeah, I'm at a stage in my life where I feel like the best is yet to come, and I'm getting very close to the point where I will experience these things that I've worked hard for and sacrificed for so long, and I'm looking forward to it. But the future isn't going to erase the past, and the past doesn't dictate the future. The good isn't going to erase the bad, and the bad doesn't eliminate the good. So it's a duality in pretty much every situation. And in my life right now, I feel like I'm really starting to benefit from all of the negativity, the pain, the stress, the anxiety, like all of those things that have impacted me one way up until this point. Now I feel like are starting to benefit me because I have done the work and continue trying to do the work to make good of the bad and understand it. And I think that's very important to not just look at a situation and try to see it as good or bad, or look at a person and try to see them as a hero or a villain, but just to accept there's some good and bad in pretty much every situation and every person. Is just how much good versus how much bad, and then what are you willing to accept and what are you willing to contribute to get the outcomes that you want, whether that's in career, relationship, health, whatever it is. So at this point, um, exactly where I'm at is a reflection of the work that I've put in, the mistakes I've made, the changes I've made, the lessons I've learned, the disappointments, the joys, all of this stuff that um, I'm at peace. Walking away from people, walking away from situations, accepting what life has for me. And I think it got a lot for me because I know that I'm willing to put a lot into it. So it's April 3rd, 2026. And yeah, I'm at peace.